There we go.
And now we're live.
There we are.
Well, welcome back everyone to the HVAC 2.0 show. Got a little bit of a crowd with us today. Got Reedie, Ken, and T. How's everybody doing?
Hey. Good.
Fantastic.
Good.
Snowing here. I'm back in the snow.
Ugh.
Oh,
That sounds
It's really
terrible.
pretty though. It's really pretty. So it's at least it's light and not it's nice. I took my fat bike out yesterday and it was fun. And I've been shoveling, so it's given me exercise. And my neighbor's got a new knee, so I ended up doing snowblower patrol. So I'm getting the hang of a snowblower, which is actually kind of a thing.
cold snap coming.
Cold snap, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's go to Reedie.
Hold on, let me.
Oh, we're getting serious now.
Oh, yeah.
We're
I'll
we're
take
serious.
He wrote a script.
4 score and 7 years ago.
Are you gonna? So are you gonna do a
An Emancipation Proclamation.
Yes, yes.
range here?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I've had a I've had a really strange story that if you want to hear it, I will tell it.
Well, you got a captive audience. We can't go anywhere.
Okay. It is a fellow who called us up he wanted me to talk to him about a return that was in his basement that was going to nowhere. And so I came out there, and indeed he had an air handler that had a return
Return
duct
to
on it.
nowhere.
Yeah, it was nowhere. It was literally nowhere. In
Somebody forgot to
between,
connect it?
yeah, it was just a piece of
Mhm.
pipe, and it was sucking air from the basement in between the floors. And
Got late in the end of the day.
yeah. And as we began to talk, I said, "What do you really want me to do here?" And he wanted me to give him a bunch of advice for free, and I told him I don't do that. So we ended up, doing a comfort consult for him. I charged him $695, and
Oh, you too. It was a big house.
yeah, it was 5,200 square feet or something like
Okay.
that. Most of it, there was a lot of basement, so that was super simple.
Some Bluetooth network.
network. That's right.
Yeah.
He as we went through it, I said, he was there in the house, they were getting ready to gut it. And I said, before we do the blower door, I'd like to make certain you don't cut any holes or anything inside of the envelope. And so he said he wouldn't. And he went and just took a look up in the attic because he wanted me to move some things and do this other stuff. And when I got up in the attic, it was moldy. And it was frozen. So it was frozen mold.
Wow.
And I turned my light out. I stuck my head over my hand over my headlight, and I could see no light from the soffits or anything like that because they were all stuffed, full of insulation. And
bath fans going outdoors or bath fans going to the attic?
I don't know. I couldn't see anything, so I'm assuming they were going to the attic. But
so moisture loading on all the top plates and the fans.
Oh yeah, and then by the time we got from the back of the house to the front of the house, his guys decided they were going to rip down a wall, and they did. And of course, they didn't know about the blower door test. So, anyways, I look. You could see inside of the wall the insulation is streaked. Not with mold, but just with leakage. Sure. And I said, I said, this is why we can't really give you answers because of this right here. And he goes, what, the wall? I said, no. I said, look at the insulation. So we went out there. I did
So
the
it's
blow.
good they took the wall down
Yeah. Yeah.
because you were able to say this house is leaky as hell up into the attic.
Right. Right.
And
I
you
did
got
the
some
blower door
choices
test.
to make right now, which your timing's great.
Right. And when we got through with it, I found out that he's got 9.5 tons in that house, and 2.5 tons in the basement.
Oh,
And it's a basement. It's got complete floor over it. It's 8 feet below grade. There's no load on it. The load had 4,000 BTUs for cooling, and I think 13 for heating. In any event, what he told me he wanted to do was go mini splits, cassettes everywhere, multi-zone, and we talked about dehumidification, and we talked about all of the other things, and I gave him he gave me a specification, so I gave him a quote for that specification, and he said, well, what do you think about this? And I said, well, I knew you were going to ask me that, so I took the liberty of making up what I think you should do. That's what the comfort consult's for, is to help slow you down. Anyways, we went through it. The load for the house was just at 6 tons is where it was, just at 6.
What was the blower door?
It was 80,
Okay.
almost 8,200.
And where do you think, is he going to put effort into getting that down to like 3 or 4?
Nope. He's not going to. He's just putting drywall, and we talked about him.
Oh, this is a flip house or what?
No, he's going to live in it, and he thinks he can do the air sealing by himself.
Oh, okay.
So, okay. That's what he took the duct system out by himself already. So,
He might be able to.
Yeah, he very well could be. And
give him Nate's course, or give him the link to Nate's course. The air sealing course. He definitely could do it if he has that.
Well, he told me he had watched YouTube videos, and so I just let it be at that. We talked about the 6 functions. He doesn't want to he said he's going to put his own dehumidifier in there. But he is putting fresh air and filtration, going with a multi-zone mini split for part of the house and green speed for the rest of it. So we got him shrunk down to about 7 tons, which it's not perfect, but it's reasonable considering it's variable equipment. And the job's going to end up being like $68,000, and he's doing it. So,
nice.
Yeah,
slowing down. He understands the value.
Yeah, he does.
Up.
I because we went through talking, he didn't jump off the cliff and get multi-zone mini splits with 9,000 BTU cassettes. Because
you can always do that. There are going to
Yeah.
be some smiley faces you don't get.
Yeah, well, and he liked that part of it. He liked the 6 functions. His wife
Yeah.
liked the 6
People-
functions.
oh, good.
Love those 6 functions, don't they?
Yeah, so that was good. I didn't know what he was going to do because people when they get to building a house, they get a little crazy and slap happy with what they want until the budget comes in. But we talked about that early on. This is a referral from a guy who he does flipping houses.
Okay.
And I think that he wanted me to kind of guide this guy through the process. And that is the beauty of that comfort consult, because that's exactly what we're able to do. And so we haven't even started that job yet. We just got the equipment ordered today, and we're going to go back out there tomorrow and kind of get everything laid out and spotted and all that. But it was weird because I asked him how he called us, how he the man told him he wanted us to come out there, and our guy in the office missed the return. And so he didn't even catch that. He didn't even see it. And so we got out there, and this guy misses it, and he didn't even know that he missed it. He just knew that there was a return that nobody said anything about, and then he put two and two together, and that's how we came into it. So it turned out from just, hey, put a return up to me, to $68,000 and a really great job. Like I say, the comfort consult process helped out.
Oh, wow. So I guess they hadn't caught that the lead was just to fix a return.
No. Until we went in there and I said,
I mean, originally you went out there because you thought you needed to fix a return.
yeah.
And then you sold them a comfort consult from the
Yeah.
conversations that you started having.
Yeah. And then I found out that we went out there and did the real estate inspection.
Oops, and missed the fact that there was a dead return.
Right. So I called and asked, I said, what do we do in a real estate? What value is a real estate inspection for anyone?
Right.
And
what the heck?
And the answer I got was, well, it's what the real
It's a
estate
marketing
agent,
tool.
right? The real estate agent. That's the whole thing about it is, if you want the reality of it, it's like having code say you have to do a load calculation, and people do it just to meet code. That's what it is. It's a real estate sort of thing.
It's just a marketing gimmick.
Yeah.
That makes people have a false sense of thoroughness.
Yeah, because the real estate agent, if that would have gone past, the real estate agent would have said, well, we had it checked. So, that was a little hairy, but I just told him, I said, well, most service technicians, they're not going to take and look up, because that's all I did. I just went in there and looked up, and they said they're not going to look up. And so he said, well, I can see that. I don't know how you could see that, but whatever.
So Jason asked if it's the buyer or the seller paying for it. Did the buyer pay for that?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
That all happened like 2 months. No, it happened in November.
So it might have been
making
the
a
seller
statement there. I think that's more of a statement than a question from Jason.
I know, but I'm turning it into a question because I don't know the answer.
Oh, yeah. I think he's talking about it. The value depends on if the buyer or the seller is paying.
Well, the obligation to having it screwed up.
Yeah. It definitely, and to add to that, after we did it, for them to still, because I took a little time.
Right.
So
he was still happy.
Yeah.
Because you provided him such value.
Yeah.
For the comfort consult.
Conversely, we've got a guy who he about 3 years ago, I told this guy, he called me out to his house. He wanted me to encapsulate his crawl space. Why? It's because I got mold in the unconditioned part of the crawl space, or the finished part of the crawl space, that's right next to the unfinished part. And so, we talked about what your plans are. What are you going to do? I don't know. Maybe I'll tear the house down. What do you think I should do? I said, you want to spend a lot of money on mold remediation? He said, no. I said, tear the house down. Well, he did. He tore the house down and built another really beautiful house and a fireplace. Our guys put in a fireplace with a direct vent fireplace. As fireplaces go, it's a good fireplace. Because it doesn't draw air from inside of the house. It draws it from the outside. Mm-hmm. So in any event, after the fact, he goes back and has his attic spray foamed. And he's got a fully enclosed basement. And lo and behold, he hasn't ran the fireplace yet, but the house is so tight that it's moving heat through that fireplace. And when it does, it brings air down that other secondary vent, kind of like a concentric vent kit on a gas furnace, except for there's no motor. And when that happened, it made the vent pipe condensate inside the attic. and go over and ask the guy, what do you want for us to do about it? He says, well, I want you to replace the pipe. And so we told him, Diana told him, we'll replace the pipe. And what are you going to do after that if it still does the same thing? Well, I don't know. But I don't believe that it's condensing because of the spray foam in the attic. And so by saying that statement, what are you going to do if after
Diana did this?
No, I was the one who said that. What are you going to do afterwards?
Oh, did you talk to her about responsibly avoiding responsibility, and did you show her the move?
Well, she knew that I can do that.
That you were doing the move?
Yeah, she knew it, and she said, I don't know, kind of what you're going to say. And I said, tell me the parameters, and she did. And so she said, I've already told him I'm going to replace the pipe. I said, okay, fine. I said, but we got to get out of it. And she goes, I know, that's why I'm asking you. So went over there, and we did. We're going to replace the pipe. And after that, he set up, and he knows that if it does it again, it's on him because the pipe doesn't leak. I mean,
he significantly changed the building science of the house.
That's exactly right.
It behaves.
You want to know the beauty? What was so beautiful about it is when we got there, it's 62 degrees in the house. It's 42 degrees outside. The dew point was 40, and there was condensation on the pipe. As soon as they got it in, the pipe was moving air. As soon as they got the pipe pulled outside, the moisture left because it was above dew point. And he can't get in his mind that it's all about that spray foamed attic. And so
now why is his house so cold?
Because he doesn't live in it yet. It's not finished.
Oh.
Yeah. And so they've got this vent in this furnace that.
So why are you changing the pipe if he's not even living there? It's like, well, when you're living here with it at 70 degrees, maybe that condensation won't occur.
Because it dripped on his ceiling, and he's afraid he's going to. You remember, this is the same guy who tore down the house. He's afraid he's going to get mold again.
Oh.
Yeah. And he's convinced that the pipe is leaking.
Okay.
The problem is that the pipe doesn't leak. It does not leak. It's condensing. So he set up, and he agreed. He said, if this pipe doesn't leak, then fine. You guys can help me figure out why it's condensing. But I just don't think that that's the issue. So, he agreed, and that's fine. A little bit of pipe, who cares? But dodged a big bullet on that one just because of.
Is the pipe? Can you insulate the pipe?
Yeah, and really, that's what I told them at the office. I said, if you want to go ahead and put some rock wool around the pipe at the top, I said that'll help. I said, and it may stop it.
Right.
And so it's all up to them what they're going to do. But at least.
How did he insulate the house? Open cell or closed?
It's open cell.
Oh well, so he's going to have moisture in the attic.
Yeah,
he's going to have a condensing. Condition up there. He's going to need to put a dehumidifier up there or something.
It was 50% in the attic.
Did you 50%. Talk to him before he spray foam?
No, I came in way after.
Okay. So it's not on you.
No, it's not on me. It's not on us. It's not on anybody but him. He made the decision to spray foam that attic, and they spray foamed the pipe too. They directly spray foam the pipe, and you can't do that.
But not enough of it.
Good Lord.
And so, in any event, they cut it after they found out you can't spray foam the pipe. They cut it away. It's just a bizarre thing, but
yeah.
I did a free quote today and went through all of it. I showed him the videos. We went through every bit of it, and the guy's a real estate agent. if you deal with real estate agents, they're the worst because they're going to try and cheap out. And
Mhm.
even though he loved the 6 functions, he said, I've got to have those things. Even though he loved them, he still thinks he can get it from, a 2-stage piece of equipment or even.
Okay. Maybe.
And I told him, I said, he said, he goes, well, you've kind of quoted me what we talked about, a 2-stage and a green speed. And he said, but what's to say you guys aren't the cheapest? And I said, what is to say we're not the cheapest?
I can tell you right now we're not. You want to go get some quotes? Go for it.
Yeah, that's what I did. I told him, I said, you can do all of this stuff that you want. I said, but here's
Getting one quote from me.
Here's a few things you should know. And guess what? His electrical wired illegal. He's got problems like that guy. He's got
right.
he's got a it's in the basement. He's got a drain pan, and outside of the drain pan sits the condensate pump. Outside of the drain pan, because the drain pan isn't big enough to hold the pump. So if the pump fails, he's getting water all over everything. And on top of that, it's too big. He's got a basement that's 1,100 square feet directly underneath the space, which is 1,100 square feet. The load came up to 16,000 BTUs, and he's got a 3-ton. And so, he had a battle in his mind. Should I go 2-ton? Should I go 3-ton? I said, well, that's up to you. You can do whatever you want. Well, should I change the duct? I said, it's up to you. You can do whatever you want. He's got his duct insulated on the inside. It's lined, and then it's wrapped with naga hide like goes over the couch. And he's
Is that old
complaining
school
about
or what?
it is. It's old school duct, and it smells in his house, and he didn't really want to change the duct. So we talked about fresh air and dehumidification and filtration. He's going to put if he goes with us, he's going to put filtration on both units and fresh air on both units. And he's trying to decide green speed or, crossover, and he's stuck on 3 tons.
Or one of each. Oh, well, that's okay.
Well, because the other one, he's got a 4-ton, and he's letting that be till it goes bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, you should do the green speed first then.
Yeah.
Do
That's
the
what I told
crossover
him.
when he changes the next one.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And we'll see. What he says. He's 6. They moved into the house in 2016. A builder told him to put a 4-ton in. He chose us to do it. And so that's what we did. We put a 4-ton on the one side.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's got that 4 tons on, like, the house is like 5,500 square feet. So the 4-ton, it must be on 3,300 square feet, that 4-ton, because he had 2,200 square feet on the other. He could probably change that. He could probably change both units out and put a 5-ton and be fine.
Oh, are they next to each other?
They're within about 15 feet of one another.
Or tell him how many windows he needs to open to be comfortable. Make it match that.
I like the guy, and I spent a little time with him today, and then he calls me up at like 4:40, and he says, no, it was 5 o'clock. It was because I got home at 4:40. He calls me up and he says, what about this train, 500 stages? Do you know the model number? I said, no, I don't know the model number. I said, but I can tell you it doesn't dehumidify as well. It's not as efficient. It doesn't heat as low. And, all this, everything that I could think of. I didn't know if it had reheat or not. I didn't think it did, but he said, is it comparable? And I said, no. And he goes, okay. So I guess what we'll see is whether he's, going to do us or someone else.
Right. All right.
Which is fine with me. I think he's probably going to go with us, and I think he's probably going with the green speed, but we'll just have to wait and see. So that's what I got.
I'm trying to get to set this up as priority device because I just dropped out,
Oh,
but I don't know how to do that. I'm having trouble figuring out where the heck that is.
well,
What do you mean you dropped out? What does that mean?
You guys all froze on me, which means I froze.
oh.
Oh,
Well,
Well, I'll tell the guys that our company had a rep come in from Ecobee. Everybody there, and it was a good presentation. Of course, we like Ecobee already, but I was extremely pleased that our service manager and our salesman both had very in-depth questions about Ecobee because we like to use it. It's become our preferred thermostat over Honeywell. And everybody who was there was given an Ecobee Enhanced. And then you may have seen where I posted on Slack that there's a third-party app for Ecobee, which does a lot more reporting and data logging. I put that up on Slack. I was not aware of that before, having watched some of the HVAC symposium things. So
yeah.
yep,
The only,
go ahead, Tanner.
the only thing I wish they would do is just have as a contractor, as we install these thermostats, we should have the ability to see the runtime data of all the systems we've put in. They still don't give a good way of doing that. And again, last time I had to call them on an issue about, it's been several weeks now, but they still seem to be, there's zero receptiveness of
okay.
that. They're just like, oh, you can see it on the customer side. And it's like, yeah, right now I have to call my customer and I have to say, hey, do you mind giving me your login information so I can log into your thermostat and look at this stuff? Because if not, I can't get what I need. And
Got it.
it's simple, it's annoying. They make it out like it's something that's going to be difficult. And it's like, no, if the data is already there, just allow the contractor to have a portal to view what we've put in. Because that's everyone that when I talk about Ecobee, especially when it comes to runtimes, there are some people that will give a lot of pushback because they don't like Ecobee. And it's like the reasons that they don't like them they're valid reasons because, of the issues that they've had. But it's like they don't lean into the thing that really makes them different and that makes it really valuable. And people just can't get past that. And that's with contractors, that seems to be holding them back.
Got it. Well, I'm going to go ahead and install mine out in the building where I have a 1.5 ton Mitsubishi and I have a radiant tube heater. And the radiant tube heater is operating on a line voltage thermostat. So I'm going to have to mount a transformer and a relay so I can use the Ecobee to adjust temperature instead of having to walk out to the building in order to do it. I'm lazy.
Oh, you want to preheat the place before you go out there?
That's right.
Makes
When we
sense.
have band practice, I want to turn the temperature up.
what are some of the reasons people don't like the Ecobee, Tanner?
Well, actually, funny enough, I did a comfort consult today, and they had an Ecobee, which the Ecobees ended up being it's going to be extremely useful. But they liked it, but they were a little complaining because they're like, we've been trying to figure out how to do a schedule and to make it work right, and they're like, we just can't, figure out how to make it work right. And so, user interface tends to be something where they're, when it comes like. A lot of people, when I install them, they typically don't like to do a schedule. This was actually the first time I've heard issues of someone not figuring out how to do a schedule with it. It's usually more people just want to set it and forget it. And really the only way you can do it is you go change a setting to where if you change it, it won't adjust itself until you change it again. But
Oh.
then the problem is when you change it, it'll have, what your set point is and holding with a little X
Mhm.
bar. You do that and people, they see that little X, like this is a little pop-up window, and they always want to click that X. Well, as soon as you click it, it reverts back to whatever setting that you have, but you can't do away with a schedule setting. So it's it's kind of like, on your phone, if you've got a notification on an app and it's got that little one up there and it's just kind of annoying, you just want to click it and make it go away. That's what it kind of has. So people have not really locked it on the what do you want to call it, on the consumer side.
Yeah.
Contractor side is really just, grumpy old people being like, well, actually, I would say it's probably because they classify Ecobee in with Nest,
Oh,
and
dear.
they're all the same, and it just kind of gets scrutinized that way. Or they're just, not a fan of smart thermostats. You just got some contractors, they want a standard thermostat, blah blah blah. But still, I think if they really leaned into the, you can view your customers' information remotely without having to go out, you can get a lot of people that's got little nitpicky things like that. You can make them overlook that because of how useful that tool could be. But they just don't make it useful for whatever reason.
The only thing that I know about that sort of app that contractors can use is, and I forgot the name of it. It's some thing, but you've got to be a Carrier dealer because it will connect you to that portal and will show you all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there is that out there, and
Is it what is it?
Is that Ion?
no, it's some feature that they show, and I don't remember what. I sure wish I could remember what it's called, but anyways, you can go and check that. A lot of people don't know that Carrier really backed Ecobee heavily in terms of
I remember
software and all that.
they were selling it with a lot of their equipment.
Still are, yeah. I mean
Yeah.
that's
And there's a big move too. Are they folding in? You like?
Bright's
yeah. I think Carrier actually at least has some ownership, maybe not all of it.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Yeah, I know Bright's, they're like that as well. Because if I get the thermostat from my Bryant dealer, like it loads up as a Bryant logo and everything. It's not
Yeah.
an Ecobee branded. But I didn't know there was an app that was specific for Carrier dealers in order to
Yeah.
access that.
yeah. Golly, I'm trying to.
The reports have sort of gone to a little bit more convoluted.
Yeah, I don't even look at the app reports. I just only do the desktop one
Oh, okay.
because the desktop one's still the same.
Oh, I gotcha. And then you get a something like that. I don't know why.
Yeah, there's going to be a local HVAC company that's not going to like me probably in the next few weeks.
Uh-oh.
And a good chunk of that's going to be because of Ecobee, because there is a very unhappy customer of theirs currently who just had a system put in 2 months ago that is massively oversized. So they're going to be armed to the gills with a lot of information proving that their unit's oversized, and they're going to be asking what they're going to do about it.
It is called IntelliSense.
IntelliSense.
Yeah, and they started putting it in the FT4 blowers. So I don't know if they're putting it in the FT5s or not, but it only works. That only works with that kind of a blower. So a variable speed blower doesn't work with the Comfort Series blower. Of course, we're not really interested in a lot of that, but otherwise you do have to go just into that app. It'll tell you that IntelliSense tells you like what's the coil temperature, what's the problem, what's happening, how long it's ran, that kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I love Ecobee. Before I got my
I
green
always
screen-
loved them too because the reverse staging solved a lot of problems for me.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. And the wireless sensors. I can't tell you how well
Oh,
that worked in my
the
own
temperature
house.
averaging.
Yeah.
Okay, and I also love being able to size equipment
Right.
Mm-hmm.
with
Right.
the reports. You're able to check your load calc.
Those reports, one time we put in this unit for this lady, it was when they first came out with the mini split outdoor unit and a regular variable speed blower. We put that unit in, we put in a 12,000 BTU unit, and it showed that it ran, it did what it was supposed to do. It showed,
Right.
verified this 12,000 BTUs was what they needed.
Oh, and you can
And-
also see if people are doing really stupid pet tricks.
Right. The only problem that happened is that for some reason when that unit was configured that way is if the heat strip turned on, the heat pump turned off. And you couldn't get past
Right.
it.
Oh, right.
Not good.
Yeah. So,
Oh my gosh.
but yeah,
The
I love
engineers
that.
didn't know what they were doing there.
Yeah.
Okay. It only had an emergency mode.
Yeah. Yeah. But just like that, I sat there and watched it. When it got to be 9
Danny.
degrees outside, it started to lose ground.
Right. And you could watch it just
Mm.
sort of slowly.
Yeah.
How does that compare to your design temperature, Reedie?
Our design temperature is 23,
Nice.
21 in some places.
Wow. Okay. You mentioned the remote sensors, and one of the things that I think it had to do with the app. A comment was made that if you had some properly placed design temperature, you could, how did they put it? Reverse engineer, you would be able to figure out the size of your house. I need to find that where that statement was made. I've got the app up on my other, or the screen up on my other monitor.
I'll share this link through StreamYard to the various people
Yeah.
people are watching or whatever.
Oh, actually, that
To this data logging in case people really want to see the history. I mean, I started this photo album back in 2009 because I was like, hey, hang on a second.
yeah.
I can see how long the equipment runs at the worst case conditions. Now I can learn a lot about how the house is behaving and how the equipment's behaving. And, like here, having this green, the red shows you this system had a slight setback. So it showed you how the temperature would go up and down indoors, how the temperature was behaving outdoors, and how the equipment was behaving. And there's some in here you can tell the equipment is horribly oversized because it looks like a little rocket ship taking off. And this is cold weather here. This is 30 degrees and still satisfying. And each of these little red bars is 5 minutes. So, 7 minutes. These are the equipment satisfying.
Might have been running on high limit.
Right. Might not have even been the thermostat. Well, except the thermostat was calling for it. Thermostat's logging the off cycles.
Oh, yeah.
Oh gosh. And this is my first energy scale. And help homeowners understand how bad their house was based on their energy use. So people might find some of this stuff interesting still. Like, look at this. That's clearly radiant. And this is forced air.
Mm-hmm.
These are forced air. This is two-stage. And heat pumps too. Run. 20 degrees. Slow recovery. I actually, when my house gets cold downstairs, if it gets below like 4 degrees, you put a fan in front of one of the radiators and it accelerates the heat transfer and it's fine. It's really, you learn these sort of gimmicks. Anyway, sorry about that. Go ahead, Tanner. You can put yours back. Or I can put it back. Sorry, guys. I just thought that seems to be coming up more and more, the Ecobee thing.
Yeah.
And I think more people are recognizing that you could use the data logging on the coldest and hottest days to check your load calc. Which I like. I like the fact that people are finally catching on.
Oh, yeah. More and more guys are recognizing that you can fine tune your load calc with data logging.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I think some people are even realizing they can get, if they disaggregate the annual energy use, they can reconcile their load calc to energy use. People talking about that yet? For annual use? Not so much yet. Well,
nope.
No.
Ted, that last picture, the one that I contributed to the album.
Which album? That one I just closed?
Ecobee album.
Okay.
And I'd put my little caption under it about recovering from a setback, which showed that even though the unit turned on 2 hours ahead of time in order to reach temperature, because of the lower mean radiant temperature on the house, the system had to run for 2 more hours. There we go. So the white line in the middle is the time that it was set for recovery, or so it started in advance.
Oh, look, because it's not running here, so the house is floating.
Right.
Doesn't hit a call.
Then it gets.
And then there's why is it starting up here?
That might have been a short cycle just to maintain the setback temperature.
Okay, so there was a little call for it.
Yes, but then
must have had a very small deadband.
Yeah, you see that solid line which starts at, is that saying 6 a.m.? Yeah, looked like it. 4 a.m., 4:30ish to reach temperature at 6. But in order to
so you turned on the smart recovery.
Oh, this was from online.
I mean, this is smart recovery. It knows it needs to start here in order to get here by this time.
By 6 a.m., but it ran until almost 8 a.m. Even though the air temperature was there, it was not registering at the thermostat because the mass of the house hadn't warmed up yet.
Right. And then you get into the whole issue about better be careful sizing for a brick or a stone house.
Yeah.
Because all bets are off.
But I found
you want to oversize if you have big ductwork, you want to size to that big ductwork, not to your load calc.
Well, and if you want to have a setback when you're at design temperature, you better have an oversized system.
Yeah, right.
Below design temperature.
Right, because it's really designed to keep you. It's going to keep you at 65 miles per hour on a flat highway, but it's not going to keep you at 65 miles an hour if you got to climb a hill.
So I believe that was a screenshot I took from one of Jason Semmelhack's presentations.
Okay.
Giving him credit for it.
Well, yeah. So, John Semmelhack?
Yes, I'm sorry. John Semmelhack.
So this is cold weather for him, I would say. Now,
Yeah.
look at how interesting it is that it got cold. It wasn't cold here in the middle of the night. It's sort of cold after the sun came up.
Well, that was,
Huh.
what am I saying, 4 a.m. when it restarted? So, yeah, between 4 and 7 a.m. is when you have your coldest temperatures.
I suspect this is a very comfortable house. What do you think? Nice long runs.
Well,
No
what are our
behaviors.
orange and white bands at the top?
Well, and I think the white is the fan, and the orange is heating.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Um,
I see a number of cycles after the sun's up.
right, and you'll see that in the rest of these too. The houses where the equipment runs tended to be houses that were comfortable, and the
Yeah.
houses that have the spikes were not.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's exactly what I found in the one that I looked at today. And some of this runtime data, you can look at the graph and see it just, well, there we go. You can see it just bounces up and down. And
Mhm.
also you can see, like right here, I mean, at this point it's 11 degrees. We're staying all through 20, and on rare occasion does it get into second stage heating. This is a furnace,
Okay.
and this is below design.
So that second stage call was coming up off a setback,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and
And we're still cycling on first stage below
okay,
design temp.
gotcha.
That's
Yeah.
how bad this one was. So it's gonna be it'll be interesting to see, because I'm gonna arm him with a lot of irrefutable information that he's gonna be going back to this other person or company with to say, what are you gonna do about it? And there's not gonna be anything they can say, because they're not gonna be able to say, oh well, his load calc's wrong, or oh, that's the way we've always done it, because it's gonna be like, well then explain this
You
right
need
here.
to change the way you do it because this is clearly wrong.
Yeah. And of course, no wonder they are having comfort problems with this. And they're having comfort problems. They've had the unit for 2 months, and they've lived in the house for 2 months, and they're already noticing issues. So
Yike.
they're not going to be, super happy if it's not fit. But also the next problem is that it's a package unit, so they're not going to be they're not going to be doing a split system and
Right.
offering a variable speed or anything at
They
this
already
point.
have the nicest thing they can get because it's two-stage.
Yes. And
Just
so
sized. Yeah.
I'm going to tell them that, hey, you want to push for a hybrid.
Right. Because then they'll have 3 stages.
Yeah. Because then at least getting some
Can you get a
Ru-
two-stage condenser on that?
yes.
Oh, okay. So you could have 4 stages of heat.
I'm not sure about on the hybrid package units if the gas ones, if the gas side's 2-stage or not. I've
Oh,
not done
it
one of
doesn't matter
those,
though,
so I
right?
don't know. Yeah, that part really don't
3
matter.
stages of heat.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get that heat pump. If we can get if we can get a downsized unit, because this is a 4-ton on, it's 2 levels, so this 4-ton serving 1,700 square feet.
Hmm.
So load calc's coming more around 20,000 BTUs. They've got 6 tons of cooling total for the house, and the whole cooling load for the house is shy of 2.5 tons.
Oh, so they're going to have real problems in the summer.
Yes. Yes.
Huh.
If they, and well, I guess I should rewind a little bit. The call initially came in for a crawl space encapsulation. They were searching online looking for that because they've got these areas that are cold, and after researching and looking, they come to the conclusion that they need to encapsulate the crawl space for one, to control the moisture so they don't have a headache in the future. They want to be in front of any problems. And two, they're hoping that it's going to fix some of these cold floors and cold areas that they have. Which,
Will it?
no, it won't. It was
The crawl space is pretty tight.
no, I mean the crawl space isn't great. I mean it's a vented crawl space, so it does suck. It's not the
Oh.
worst in the world, so it's definitely like encapsulating is definitely going to help a lot, but it's
Okay.
not going to necessarily help a ton in terms of the cold areas. Because they had a thermostat in the separate room, and it was a solid 10 degrees difference.
Oh, geez.
And I mean,
So it's a duct. It's an equipment and duct problem.
yeah, very well could be. So, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's going to be put together some things. Say, hey, here are the issues. See what you can get out. I mean, honestly, their best bet would probably be for them to come pull their unit out and give them a full refund.
Okay.
Because for one, I think they're not going to just do it.
They're not
easily.
capable of fixing it. It's not a fix they can make. They don't have what it takes to fix it.
I don't think they're going to be willing to do
Right.
what will be needed, because now they're kind of like, this company's in a bind because
Right.
I'm on the customer side, and
You've been hired by the customer. You're not the
Yeah.
bad guy.
yeah, they're going to see me as the bad guy, but
Well,
I mean,
you're
oh
not.
well, yeah, because I looked through the quote they gave. They didn't give any options. They just kind of assumed a lot of things. And so they assumed all liability on this, the way they worded their quote, the way they conducted their sales process, all these types of things. So it's going to be like, hey, you can hold them, like you can really nail them down here, because
Right. They
on them.
irresponsibly took responsibility instead of responsibly avoiding it.
Yes, because all they offered was a package
Hero.
unit, 4-ton, 90K gas pack. That was the only option they gave, and it was here's your option, here's the price, now take it.
Can you put a unit in their basement or crawl space?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So that's probably what they would like, is just 5-stage or green speed in the basement.
Yeah, that would definitely be a lot better. But this other
You have a
company,
Sammy situation. Did you call
Yeah.
Sammy back?
I have not today.
Okay.
No. But with this,
I would take notes on what he has to say, because I think he's gonna have a lot to tell you,
yeah.
and you're gonna want to be able to use what he. I'd like to hear it, and
yeah.
the guys would like to hear it, and I'm
Mhm.
sure, like, that was a nice house, and they were. It was uncomfortable. And they've been living in that nice house uncomfortable for a long time. And I think once people are like, wow, this is what comfort's like, you get them. You get them after when they haven't lived in it so long that they forgot how miserable they were. They're still at the point where they're sort of astonished. It's kind of a fun time to catch them. So, guys, you guys have played a little bit with Eric's update. And I think, Reedie, you want to tell us a little bit about how you feel about it? And then Tanner had a couple of comments too. So, and these are things that are going to, I think we're going to punctuate this so that I know where to send Eric to.
Yeah. I like it in terms of the things that I can take away. When it came down to it, part of my thing was I don't like really to show people on there what the monthly rate is going to be. There's one way you could look at it another way, but I just didn't like it. I don't like I don't like being forced to have the humidifier on there. A lot of people don't buy them where we
Well,
live.
you
A
can
lot of
take all
people-
that off, right? Or no?
You can now. You can take it off, and so
Yeah.
being
So
able
you
to
can
take
get
it
your
off,
templates set up really the way you want them.
yeah, it doesn't look weird.
Right. You don't, and if you don't have to have a certain number of rows in order to have it paginate properly.
Yeah, that's right. I think even the way it looks in the a lot of times I'll use the preview, if I'm showing it to
Right.
them
Just
while
to
I'm
go
right there.
through it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks fantastic that way. It does look a
Okay.
little bit different than it used to. The text, the layout of it, or the font of it, whatever you want to call it. I
Yeah,
think
it's fine though.
I think it's just fine. I think it is fine.
Okay. Ken, are you going to share some of it with us
Let's
so that
see.
people can see what we're talking about?
Yeah. Let's see. What part you want me to show?
Reedie?
I would just show the report because that's the only thing that anybody really sees.
Can you zoom in on that so it takes up the whole width? Okay.
Yeah, and see,
Actually, these are crawl spaces. Let me back out. Change my templates. I forgot I was playing around with that. Oh, no, wrong one. This is one thing, when you open it up, it drops straight to the bottom still.
Oh yeah. So Eric, you have to scroll up to the top every time when you open it.
There. Let's try this again.
I'm thinking it's got install choices and equipment choices, and that needs to either be modifiable, because we had a conversation about this in the past where maybe install and equipment would be on the top table, and then the bottom table you would talk about like ideal choice and or top recommendation, and then homeowners choice, so that they could have, particularly if you're going to be giving them just price ranges and hold out for them to give you the opportunity to bid last. You want to give them a pretty good idea of the specification that they settled on so they can go get quotes. And it might be nice to go from installation and equipment choices to preferred your preferred package and the top recommendation, so that they can compare what they're getting to the best. And the reason I think that it'd be good to have those two on the bottom table is so that when you go back and review it with them in the future, should they have issues that they want to address in the future, you can help them remember that they did choose what they chose as far as smiley faces.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's going to be very helpful for them to see that they're having a dehumidification issue. They chose the equipment that isn't the best for dehumidification. They chose a level or two down. They didn't get the reheat.
Yeah.
And you guys were doing had some symposium experiences, and the reheat dehumidification seems to keep coming up. And there are some people that have jury rigged reheat dehumidification, are like, oh, that's very expensive or it doesn't work. But they've chosen equipment that just fundamentally never dehumidifies. So the fact that they're comparing apples to oranges makes them look stupid,
Yeah.
quite frankly.
It
And
turns out retarded people still do retarded stuff.
retarded people are they just don't know what they don't know, and they're never going to know it because they're not open to learning new things.
Yeah.
And they're insistent that they're the smartest person in the room. Even with a lot of evidence to the contrary, because we have a whole album of annual energy use screenshots that are showing reheat cost of like $20 to $200 for the year. But I also did want to touch on using devices like Haven to stage in one of your heat strips as sort of the poor man's workaround to reheat. And that works. We know that works because Ben did it with his Goodman. So it works, but you still got to use a piece of equipment that if it runs long, dehumidifies well. So you got to get equipment that when it runs long, it doesn't dehumidify like crap. It actually has to dehumidify well. And even then, you probably have to do some fiddling, because he had to fiddle with it, and he had to trigger it to come on at 62 or 63% and turn off at 57, or his electric bill went through the roof. And what he used as the triggering metric was his wife's asthma. If he kept relative humidity under 60, she was comfortable. And so while he may be running his relative humidity a little higher than we would recommend, it solved his problem. So I'll get off my soapbox. I just wanted to get that whole idea out. Anyway, talk more about this, please, Reedie. Thank you.
There's not too much more I have to say. I think that since we can take the stuff out and we can have what we want, I think it is satisfactory.
Okay.
I know eventually we're getting, if you go back up to the load part, where we do the likely load range, I know eventually that's going to be sort of a thing that's added in as we, type in the square foot and all that of the house. I think that's going to do nothing but enhance. And
It's going to be beautiful.
yeah, I think it's.
And if we use MeasureQuick to show people their maximum cooling size, that's going to be helpful too, because really want people designing their heat pumps to cooling size, particularly if they get single stage. And we should harp on this a little bit. You need to size your heat pumps to cooling if you have single stage, or you're not going to get the runtimes you need to dehumidify.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so they decided to get cheaper equipment. That equipment may not carry the load on the coldest heating day. And it's better to size to the cooling and run those heating strips, because the equipment these days, the equipment will run to very cold temperatures. So you're not switching from heat pump over to resistant. You're putting the resistance on top of the heat pump. So it's not going to impact people's bills, because they're not going to be just straight resistance. I mean, it will impact their bills, but it's not going to be horrifying the way it was 20 years ago. unless you use an Ecobee and it only takes you to emergency heat.
I think that was limited for that mini split
Oh, okay.
configuration. Which it was junky for doing that. It was super junky.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there are all these little subtleties in each piece of equipment that cause the way it's commissioned and run and your constraints on your commissioning to become a factor. I don't know how deep a dive you can take a homeowner into understanding that.
You
Other than
can't.
smiley faces.
You can't, to some degree, something like that. There was no way, because we didn't even know it. I didn't know it, and I know more about the Ecobee than anyone in our company. And for us to have to figure that out, not only was it embarrassing, but it just was unsatisfactory for instead of them having the smiley faces, they had frowny faces on a unit that they should have really had the smiley faces on.
Right. So if this had been working at the time that they had originally bought, whenever, you would not have been responsibly avoiding responsibility, because you would have given them the wrong smiley face.
Yeah. Because the reality of it is that their air conditioning load was I think it was 11,000. We put in the 12,000. The 12,000 is supposed to be able to go down to 2,000. It did not dehumidify well in the air conditioning season, and in the heating season. As soon as it hit, I think, whatever the load was for heat, as soon as it hit that, it would turn the heat pump off and the strip on. And so it did just everything backwards.
Yeah.
But, it's all water under the bridge now because we got it right.
Tanner, what was the other issue that you saw with this besides the dropping to the bottom and having to scroll up?
Let's see.
I'll make another timestamp.
There wasn't any. Let's see. There's not any issues I'm thinking of. One thing I did think about that may be a thing to do: make the titles of these editable to where there's so you've got two of these, but then also give the ability to disable one if you only want to use one table. So like
You're
if you
talking
wanted
about install and equipment choices.
Yeah, like if you wanted to, instead of having install and equipment choices, say you just wanted to have one table and you wanted to rename it, you just disable this table, rename install choices to whatever you want to call it, your choices, equipment choices, whatever, and then just use one table, you can do that. Or if you wanted to, have pre-made options, and then under here have your specification or whatever, if you wanted to do that.
You remember, Ted, we were talking about that, and I said if we could do that, it would be, I would call it 6 functions.
Yeah. Okay. So the top table would be 6 functions.
Well, I mean, just whatever,
and then the bottom table would be deciding on your ideal replacement specification.
Yeah, because if we can get them we can show them up there all that stuff, but then if we can get them to kind of say which more are you leaning to when we send them the report later, we can say your ideal specification. That really puts it on them.
Yeah. I think that sounds really good.
Because
you're gonna be having the conversation as you're building the top table about things like fresh air, because some of you guys have run into situations where people actually have chosen the fresh air option, which is not inexpensive. Sometimes it's as much as $4,000 or $5,000 for fresh air, and people end up being budgeted out of getting the better equipment because they want the fresh air. And since fresh air is their main priority, it ends up being in all of the choices and in their package. Is that, you think, how the sale experience is going to go for people?
I mean, I think it depends on the person.
Well, one of the reasons we shifted equipment choices below install choices was people found themselves getting people anchored on the better equipment and then having to go and revise the whole thing because the equipment choices or the install choices that they wanted were so expensive. So we wanted to get the install choices out of the way before the equipment choices.
Mm-hmm.
So they already knew that the better equipment was going to blow their budget.
Well, now that we can add more than one column,
Right.
you can do that.
Yeah.
You can do that in the first table
Right.
and have the equipment
Right.
in the first table. Yeah. I think we're close to having this to a thing where people don't have to do a tremendous amount of learning in order to be able to use this process in the software.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree?
I think so, except for the only learning they're going to have to do is kind of once they get to this part, they're going to have to say, how do I want to lay this out?
Right.
And I think that is
Building their own personal template.
Yeah, right.
If we do a really good job over the next couple of months of working through getting to the point, probably you, Reedie, where you have some templates you really like, what we'll do is we'll make those base templates so that people can just choose. They don't have to build from scratch. They can choose from the base template and make their own personal adjustments from there.
Mm-hmm.
Because it'd be hard to build a template from, like, well, I have no idea because I haven't done this, but it'd be easier to build a template from, this is a template from a guy that's got an 80% closing rate and an average job of $20,000. So probably pretty good.
Yeah.
What is your closing rate and your average job?
This year, I don't know. We still don't have the lead log put up, and I'm not putting it together myself.
Okay.
Last year, I was at 63%. All jobs included, new construction, junky jobs, and all that. And it was 16. It was just under 16.
Average job.
Yeah. Average sale. And revenue per lead, I think, ended up being like 9,100.
Okay. Pretty amazing.
Pretty good process.
Pretty good salesman.
Well, thank the Lord.
Thanks, Sandler.
Yeah.
Lord Sandler.
I wouldn't go that far.
Lord and Sandler.
Yeah.
Lord and Sandler.
Yeah. I'm gonna go, guys.
Okay, Reedie. Thanks for staying with us past
Thank you.
9. It's 9:30. You stayed late.
I know. I don't know what's gonna happen to me.
Oh no. Well,
See
be
you
well,
next time,
brother.
Reedie.
See you, Reedie.
All right, now the real fun begins.
So Tanner, tell me about your trip back in that truck. Trip back from Florida.
Oh, it was smooth, nice, no problems at all. Well, actually, there was one thing I got a bitch about. I don't know why people stop at Starbucks, but I judge all of you. That place sucks, and it and it
sure
has
does.
and it has nothing to do with the place itself, other than this one thing. So I stopped at a charging station, which was in the parking lot of a Starbucks. I'm not a Starbucks person. This was the first time I've ever been inside a Starbucks and bought something that was just me.
The bathrooms are okay.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'm sure I'm not a coffee drinker, so I was like, surely they have something that isn't coffee. So start to go in there to the
They
bathroom, and I
do,
kind of
but
turn.
it's just sugar.
Yeah, I go over there, and I'm like, Sure, I'll get something. I order some little bitty something for like
Hot
$7, completely
chocolate or
rip off.
right.
It was retarded, but as I'm there, he's like, "Oh, do you need the bathroom code?" And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, if you was going to the bathroom, you need the code to get in. I was like, sure. Well, then I go to the bathroom and realize they've got they got a supercharger in their parking lot, but only customers are allowed to use their bathroom. So it's just a little trap where you're like, oh, I'm going to stop and charge here and go take a bathroom break. But then when you go and look and see the sign on the door saying customers only, then they're just like going to swindle you into their overpriced crappy drinks. So then I was perfectly fine up until that point. If he hadn't said anything about a
Oh,
code and there hadn't been a sign, I would have been okay. But at that point, I was ready to go back and Sparta kick some he, him, they, them at that point, and I was just upset. I was like, how dare they?
They them.
Yes. So they triggered you, in other words.
Yes.
Oh boy.
I've come to the point where if they got a supercharger in their parking lot, I'm using their bathroom. And I am a customer because I'm buying electricity from them.
Yeah.
So your observation relative to your experience in the Model Y is Cybertruck's just a much better road trip car?
Yes. It is. It's one of the things that I guess I didn't really realize it until I got used to the Cybertruck. But the Cybertruck, well, now I say this: the new Model Y coming out, it's probably this part might be the same, but the
Right.
truck is a lot quieter.
Right.
It was quieter
Okay.
and it's smoother. Granted, I have a performance model, so it's not the smoothest
Not going to
suspension.
be comfortable.
Yeah, so
Ride
com-
wise.
more comfortable ride, quieter when you're on the interstate going
I'm
80.
surprised it's quieter because you got the big noisy tires on that on yours.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Okay.
But yeah,
Sorry. Keep going.
that plus this is definitely in terms of road trips. This is, I mean, version 13 has definitely been the best version that I've used on a road trip. So FSD wise, I almost never touched the steering wheel and I got 0 strikes the whole time. So
Oh,
it was working really well.
you figure out a place to put your phone?
Um,
No, or
which
you're just disciplined enough not to touch it?
Well, I guess now for one thing I do like about the Cybertruck, since the top of the steering wheel is flat, it's easy to like rest your arms on it. So I just
Gee,
hold my phone there
you
if I've
just-
got a
okay.
uh but yeah, it was quite nice. I mean,
Hmm.
the only negative side of it really is really just the size of it. If you're, depending on where you're going, it might be a little tricky getting in some places, but also the positive is that it's a truck. And so you can tap a button, raise the suspension and climb over whatever the hell you need to.
Right.
I may or may not have done that a few times, but that's neither here nor there. And if you see any videos, it's fake. It was AI, but, yeah, it was also fun driving around in the Cybertruck, seeing other Cybertrucks, being able to pull up next to them and roll my window down and then giving them a thumbs down. That was a fun time. Uh, but yeah, I would say overall, pretty great. Plus all the storage in the
Mhm.
back as well, being able
Yeah.
to throw, throw your stuff back there.
My car uses so much energy having the bikes on the back, being able to throw them in the bed, or even when we carried the bikes behind your truck on the rack, it didn't seem to impact it, although we didn't really go drive any place where we were 80-mile-an-hour cruise control for
Yeah,
150
no.
miles.
Yeah, we really didn't get much over 60 very many times.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So the larger battery pack and the extra range, uh,
And
it
a
is
flatter charging curve.
um well, so I did notice when I start the day out, the first charge, especially if I stop at the new V4s, is super fast.
Okay.
But as you progress, I guess I don't know. I don't know if it's something to do with the battery doesn't charge as fast if you've been driving all day or
Oh, that's
what.
interesting.
'Cause there may be no. It may be just more like something was up with the chargers at the time or something. I just noticed that even at the V4s, like for instance, that one at Starbucks was a V4, and I think I pulled in at like 15-20%, and I was only charging at, I want to say, like 200
Okay.
kilowatt out, and and some of those I was getting up to 350
Wow.
speeds. And so for those, it's like I'm charging faster in the truck with a double the size of the battery pack than I was in the Y, and so I'm getting more range faster, all in all. So
Right.
it really made the bigger battery pack only positives. Like I didn't notice a charging time difference at all, but I did notice uh, the range being a lot better. Because I went from, I'm in Gunnersville, Alabama. I went from Gunnersville to Orlando, or rather, I went from Orlando back up to Gunnersville in right at 10 hours.
Yeah.
And then, I mean,
How many
I-
miles is that?
600. I mean, that's,
Wow.
I've,
Taking 60-mile-an-hour
yeah,
average is
yeah, because
pretty impressive.
I've made that trip in a gas car where like the way that I take that trip is literally the car's filled up, it's full in the driveway, everything's loaded up, and when I pull out of the driveway, the only stops I'm doing is when I'm on E to get gas, and then when I do get gas, if I'm hungry, I then pull out of the gas station and I pull into a drive-through right beside it, and then get back on the road and only stop, to get gas after that, and
Okay.
make it in. I mean, it was faster than that. I think the fastest was like
I'm
8
not
hours,
going to
6
do
minutes,
I'm
9
not going to do
hours.
600 miles without bathroom and stretch breaks.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like
Yeah.
I did the extreme. I
Yeah,
was going
that's
80,
uncomfortable.
85 the whole way. I did the
Full bladder,
extreme.
stiff muscles.
Yeah, and it wasn't that much faster than what I
Okay.
did in the truck. And the truck was enormously more comfortable. Like it was
Yeah, right.
10 times better.
All right, wait, full self-driving, those big comfortable seats, lots of room in the truck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now what we just need next is full self-driving needs to go to supervised, and then we need to be able to watch Netflix while we're going down the road. Once that happens,
Right.
it's going to be like road trip. Like that sounds like a break time.
Let's go. Let's
Yeah.
go. Where do you want to go? Yeah.
Which I know they're supposed to be rolling out some robo-taxis in Austin in June.
Right.
So that'll be interesting to see.
Right. They'll have to have unsupervised rolling out, even if they don't let you turn your car into a robo taxi.
Yeah. Because I think that'll definitely be interesting. Which I will say, full self-driving, I've had a little bit of a regression on the last update for back roads because the speed control has not been great on my roads.
A little spastic or too fast or
Too slow.
too slow. Too
Yeah.
slow again.
Yeah, it's like it goes way too slow. You tell it to speed up, and then it just
Does for
drops
a
right back
minute, and
down.
then-
You
oh,
tell it to speed up, and then it's barking at you because your foot's on the pedal, and then you got to
wow.
flip off the cabin
That
camera a
new
few
barking
times.
at you with the foot on the pedal thing is sort of annoying.
Yes, it's very annoying.
What experience did you have at the symposium?
Let's see. What experiences can I tell about? Uh, yeah, I had some good ones. I didn't get to sit into a lot of as many of the classes as I was aiming to. I ended up just talking to a lot of people for a good bit. Um, I'm trying to remember one now that stuck out to me. Which actually one interesting thing that wasn't in one of the classes, but there was a vendor set up that was a trainer. They're called what's the name of their? Is it Be Trained? That's out of Birmingham and Huntsville, which is near me.
Oh,
So
cool.
I was real surprised to see that. So I talked to them and seen about they've got a metal fabrication class that I'm definitely going to attend, and I'll probably if I can get it lined up where I'll hire my first person, try to take them along with that as well, because that would definitely make things a lot easier to have someone to be able to build transitions and build them in the field and stuff. Because
You have a brake you just take with you in the truck?
yeah, I've got a portable brake. It's just a
Okay.
little 4 foot. So for most transitions and stuff, it works. Aside from larger stuff, but oh, cool. They seem to be great. Just talking to them, I'm definitely really excited to go. Stop in and give them a try. They had a few other things that seemed pretty interesting as well to be able to kind of send some people to, for in the future type stuff. So interested to see about that. Another thing, Haven is now about to have a room air quality monitor.
Oh,
So I did think that was pretty neat because it'll be a nice offering for, if somebody is got air quality problems and they're wanting to dive into it in order to kind of offer some, some type of testing.
beyond
It may
just
be,
in the return.
yeah. Well, you
That's
can
great.
throw the induct one in the return like normal, but then have 2 to 4 of these room monitors to put out through the house to gather data over the course of several months type thing, to be able to offer that because you
They
can.
must not be. They must be. They must still have quite a bit of runway
I guess so. I don't know.
if they're
What?
bringing out additional. That's fantastic because
Yeah.
if they didn't, they've gone so far. It would be a shame for them to not make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
It's
what
a
I like.
good product.
Yeah. And I don't know what the price. I can't remember what the price was. It wasn't terribly expensive. It was about what you would expect for a typical,
So $200 or something.
yeah,
on
yeah,
top
somewhere
of the
in that
regular
range.
Haven. Nice.
But what'll be nice about it is crap. You can buy several of those for the price of those. What's that other monitor that like creates those reports that they do like the 30-minute report, 7-week
Yeah, the
report.
carrier one.
Is it Carrier? I thought it was what was Air Advice.
Air advice.
Yeah, and because I mean those things are like what $3,000 for the equipment, and then it's a subscription after that.
Right. And this sounds like something that if the people didn't want to buy it, they could rent it from you for 6 months or
Yeah,
a year,
yeah,
and they'd have the base. And then you'd be able to tell how different it is in the room to the return,
Yeah.
and log temperatures and all the stuff we were just talking about with Ecobee,
Mm-hmm.
plus air quality.
Yeah. Well, plus it all integrates into the same software for
Yeah.
the controller, so you can actuate things and implement automations.
Right.
So I thought that was really cool.
I look forward to the day where they offer just a better smoke detector,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I want to have a smoke detector. I want to have a carbon monoxide detector. And how come I can't also have my other air quality logging preferences
Mm-hmm.
all in that one device that I'm going to have hanging on my ceiling anyway?
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
well, we're a minute 31 in.
okay. Jacob, thanks for coming. Do you have any questions for us before we go to after the show? Huh? And Jason, you can jump in if you want. He's got too many. Well, how'd you find us? Well, we can do that. The way to reach us is to go sign up for an account, and then I'll have your contact information. I'll reach out to you, and you can, once you have an account, you can play with the report and that sort of thing, and you can also learn. You can also learn the course is the course to learn the free quote process, which Nate Adams put together, is pretty good. It's only $10. It takes somewhere between 1 and 3 hours, and it's laid out in stages where you're just mostly watching videos. And the other thing, if you really wanted to lean in, is to go to Amazon and get the Sandler. It's called the Ultimate Sandler, and Ultimate Sandler is a sales philosophy that's consultative instead of sort of coercive or gimmicky. Helps you really build a relationship with your prospects of adult, equal, and teaches you how to go in being the guide instead of the hero. So it'll help you when homeowners are like, well, you're the expert. You say, well, I don't live in the house. So the expertise that I'm going to be bringing today is just to help guide you to better decisions, rather than, trying to sell you all the gimmicks and stuff. So anyway, sign up for an HVAC20 account and get the Ultimate Sandler. He's in North Alabama, close to Tanner, Florence, Muscle Shoals.
Okay, cool. I know where that is. Yeah, that's a good, probably 2 hours away, 2.5 hours away from me.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming, Jacob. And we'll see you in 2 weeks if you come back.
Yeah.
And if you sign up for that, we'll have you come on so that you can ask your questions, because we'd love to have you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. After hours.
Let's go.
Okay.
Catch
And
everybody in
spring.
2 weeks.
See everybody in 2
Right.
weeks. Good night.